Traders Club. I'm OX Kennedy, of course, and I got my co-host with me right here, Chris Coffee.eth. What's up, Chris? How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. Woke up early, been productive all morning, ready just to crush the day.
Are you gonna yell for us this time, Chris?
That was
Like,
me. That was me yelling, man. Let me get a sip of coffee.
like you just got that new mic, bro. You gotta yell one time, man. You gotta yell one time, Chris.
I
It'll
don't want to
catch it.
peek,
That's a
man. I don't
new.
want to peek.
You keep talking about peeking, bro. All right, so today our show is brought to you by Ninja Alerts. Of course, Ninja Alerts is a web and phone app. You receive a notification whenever your favorite friend, whale, or influencer mints, buys, or sells an NFT. Make sure to visit ninjaalerts.com for more information. And also, we are doing a giveaway right now, 6 month subscription to Ninja Alerts. All you have to do is visit ninjaalerts.com/giveaway. And you just have to be subscribed to the YouTube channel and follow our Twitter. I can't really post it up right now because we have technical difficulties, Chris.
Man,
It's
what a
not
day. What a
like
day.
YouTube is not working for us today. What, like, did they make a change last night or something? Or
I don't know, bro. It's kind of a separate topic, but also the security system I run on my computer is malware bytes, and it started blocking YouTube and Google today. So we're like, I can't do
uh
anything on my computer without my it being blocked.
wow, yeah, that's some strange times is going on today. But we do have a very, 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 very special guest coming and joining us today, Chris. Extremely
Yeah.
special guest. You want to bring him up? Hold
Yeah,
on, let
absolutely,
me let
man.
me say something. All right, let's just bring him up. Let's go ahead and bring him up. Introducing Zeneca is here to join us today. Round of applause, man. Round of applause. Welcome. Thanks for joining us,
Thank you.
Zeneca. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Oh, no doubt. You need an air horn, bro. We gotta give you an air horn for that one. Welcome, welcome, man. How you doing, man? Everything's going good. I see you're very, very busy. Like we saw your last post, your last tweet. You have a whole bunch of you squeeze every minute out of every day, man. How
Yeah.
have you always been like this, or is this a new thing?
Oh no. This is a new
No.
thing. So I was a professional poker player before this, and like my schedule for a week was like Thursday lunch. That's it. It's like wake up, take an hour and a half to get out of bed, scrolling YouTube or whatever on your phone, and then go and maybe play some poker, have a long lunch, breakfast, do nothing, have a nap, watch some TV, have another nap, go out drinking
Sounds
at
like
night.
me,
It
bro.
was terrible. Like it was fun, but like not productive. So I've not always been like this. This is definitely new.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I saw a documentary on Bill Gates, and he sections out his days in like 30-minute, like kind of like you did yesterday about how you list out your whole day. That's like his daily
Mm,
schedules is like, I'm going to use this 30 minutes for this 30 minutes for this until it's like, and this is somebody who like can never work again in his life and in 10
right.
lifetimes, and be okay. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun actually. Once you get into it, it seems like it's not going to be fun. It's going to be restrictive and prescriptive, and
Mm.
like I always like I don't know. I'll just do what I want when I want. I don't live by a calendar. But it's honestly, it's so much more fun, and I feel so much better being productive like this.
You don't experience burnout.
No, but I force myself to take breaks. So like I don't
Good.
work weekends, and
Yeah.
even throughout the day, like yesterday, I had a bunch of stuff, but I still managed to get a nap in. I still watched some TV. I still played some video games.
Mm.
It's if you're efficient with your time, you can do all that stuff and be very productive at the same time. I'll say I don't have kids. I don't know anyone who has kids could not do this, but I'm fortunate to have a very understanding partner and
Awesome.
yeah, no dependence.
Oh, nice. Let's move a little bit back when you was a poker player, right? How was that transition to NFTs? Because I remember I'm a subscriber to your newsletters. I remember way back then when you got in and you started preaching something closer to a zero sum game at a time where we were all drinking the Kool-Aid, talking about we're all gonna make it. Everybody was making money. We're all gonna make it. And then all of a sudden, things kind of shifted a little bit later on. Like, can you walk me through that? How did you transition from poker to NFTs?
Yeah, it was a pretty natural and organic transition. I think a lot of poker players come over to crypto, whether it's NFTs or something else, or just trading in general, because a lot of the same mindset and psychology and mentality and skills are transferable. Whereas in poker, you're using math and statistics, but psychology and understanding how other people play, and having to deal with the psychology and emotions of making a bunch of money, but also losing a bunch of money. Like that happens all the time in the NFT space, and it happened in poker. But if you're not used to that background, it's very difficult to reconcile and deal with it. And so that really helped. And yeah, so like I just started getting into NFTs around like February, March last year. I had some friends who were poker players, and they started telling me about it. And yeah, like the beauty of poker is like I didn't have a job, I didn't have to like quit, I didn't have to leave, I just gradually started spending more time. I was like, hey, this is really interesting. I'll play a little less poker today, spend a little more time researching this, and then after a couple of months, I just wasn't playing any more poker.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to be real patient to play poker, bro. Because I could
Mm-hmm.
play. It's just that I get really, really impatient and just go all in. It's just all
Yeah,
right,
that's
enough,
not the
enough.
best
Just go all
strategy.
in. Yeah, I know. That's why I always lose, bro. But yeah, if I really spend time and be a lot more patient, I would be a better poker player, man. So how does that translate into NFTs though? Like, do you feel like you take anything from poker to help you be a better trader, or it's just
Yeah, definitely. I think like I never intentionally thought about it like when I was ever really when I was starting out especially. I never thought, well, all right, I do this in poker, how can I apply that to NFTs? It was just like, all right, this is the NFT market, what makes sense? I just started doing stuff and flipping stuff. But then in hindsight and reflecting upon it, I was like, oh, those I was just doing the exact same stuff, just applying it to NFTs. Things like probabilistic thinking is a big one where you can buy an NFT or anything really for zero point 0.1 ETH. And if 90% of the time it's going to go to zero, uh, a lot of people will be like, I'm not going to buy that 90%. But if 10% of the time it's going to go to 5 ETH,
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden you have like an asymmetrical bet, and it's based like, and it's never going to be that clear cut. Like you have no idea. Like you can't actually accurately say, oh, 10% of the time, 90% of the time. But the more time you spend in the space or doing anything, you get like a better instinct, gut reaction, and you can look at what's happening in the market. And with poker, it was the same. Like for most of my career, it was all right. I think my opponent has pocket aces 20% of the time. They probably have Jack 10 suited 10% of the time, and you start putting them on a range of cards, and then base your decisions based on that. And it's similar with NFTs, where you might buy into a project or make a decision or sell based on like a range of outcomes and possibilities. And yeah, that was very helpful.
oh, okay. Okay, I see. All right. I just want to take a little bit of shift real quick. Now, you kind of sparked a royalties debate not too long ago, and I know you. I don't know if the details about it, or you're an investor in Blur.io, the marketplace,
Yeah,
or
I invested in it in it was like December or January, and then I came on board to be part of the team in April or May this year.
oh, okay, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about that because SudoSwap came out. I read your newsletter about it. You gave different perspective. One being a team could just hold off a few, like maybe 100 or so NFTs and make money that way, as opposed to royalties. You gave different examples. Do you think this is going to be the new norm, 0% royalties? Because SudoSwap is gaining a lot of popularity. We actually had JJ on this show, J Jang Bang. He taught us how to use SudoSwap, and it looks like a lot of smart money are just gonna gravitate towards SudoSwap, and that might start to be the new norm. Like, how do you see that?
Yeah, it's I do think that we're probably in a race to zero when it comes to fees and royalties, but it's not for everything. So I think for like these 10K collections, it's probably going to trend to zero. But for like one of one art, generative art, individual collections, I think it's much more likely to um, for those transactions to take place on marketplaces that honor royalties and between collectors and buyers and sellers that want to honor royalties. It's certainly like a massive topic, and it's something that is shaking the space up. And I find it very interesting. I'm not, yeah, I don't know where we end up or when we end up there, but I do think that anyone who is a project founder thinking of launching a project, has a project, should be thinking like it used to be that everyone just like relied on their secondary royalties as their ongoing revenue, and that is very clearly not a good long-term strategy. So I think people need to be thinking about what are their revenue streams, what are their future revenue streams, how are they safe and protected against the case where royalties go to zero, or things like that.
We did bring up your article on the show, by the way, when you wrote that, and we kind of dissected it, gave our opinions on it, and talked with our audience about it, which today we don't have because we're having technical difficulties. Usually we'll have a
Oh
couple
my
people in
god.
comments and stuff, but like I said, I'll just upload it later. But yeah, it was really good, and I liked the little segment you're basically talking about. If you There will be artists where like their art is like good enough to be supported, and people are going to go out of their way to pay those royalties to support the artist. And I think you even advocated in that section being a good artist, instead of just saying like, oh, people need to pay out royalties, like be a good enough artist or a good enough person in the space where people are going to go out of their way to still pay the royalties because they support you. And I really like that section as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of it, it was Beeple, like one of the most prolific NFT artists in the space, who said it best, and I was just like quoting him. He basically said, "There's no way to enforce royalties, so in order to have people pay royalties, people need to want to pay royalties, and you have to have collectors that want to pay royalties." And I think that there's certainly stuff that you can do as an artist, as a creator, as a founder, to cultivate a community of holders and a following and people that want to join, and just like make them want to pay their royalties as a way to support you as the creator of the art or the project or whatever it is that you created. There'll always be people that will circumvent it and be bad actors and that kind of stuff. But if you can minimize that, then you can generate revenue off of it. I just wouldn't necessarily rely too heavily on it. As anyone, but like I do think, and I'm optimistic that the culture and ethos that exists and that it maintains for paying 10% as a royalty to one-of-one artists and other artists is here to stay, and I think that we can keep that mentality for hopefully forever.
I agree.
Yes, definitely. Now, with that being said, I saw a few different There's a lot more marketplaces in the space now, and one of which being X2Y2. They went the route of zero royalties for the project and the founders, and I noticed some new collections are kind of blocking X2Y2, blocking their collection from being listed on X2Y2 on the contract level now. I don't know what you could tell us about this, but can you speak on what Blur.io, the path they're going towards when it comes to royalties? I don't know, whatever
Yeah,
you
I mean,
could speak on.
I can say that they're obviously thinking about it a lot, and it's very important decision to be made. As far as I'm aware, no decision has yet been made on what path they're going to take. There's many different options. There's stuff that has been taken, but I think they're going to do something that hasn't been taken, like do something that doesn't exist yet, probably. But yeah, I think in the next 1 to 2 months, we will know exactly what they're doing, what their approach is, and yeah, like I'm curious to see as well. Like obviously, I've got a voice in the room. We have calls. I share my opinions. They share theirs. We go back and forth. But ultimately, I am more of a strategic advisor or a voice in the conversation. It's not my project. I'm a small cog in the entire thing. They're going to make the decision that they think is right for their business, for their company, for the marketplace, and hopefully for the space as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed a few of top level traders already using Blur.io. I remember when I signed on months ago, and they gave me the screen that told me I'm a crappy trader, and I never really came back. So they're still opening it up, like
Yeah.
once a month to more people.
So the way it works at the moment is it's in closed beta, but they'll onboard people or communities one by one, or like community by community, and they're still doing that, and it's so that they can be there to answer questions when people get onboarded, to show them how to use the platform, and yeah. So now, I mean, they're definitely still bringing more people in, and then eventually it'll just be wide open. Yeah.
Okay,
We
cool.
were So moving on a little bit, we were previously talking about how we found your newsletter, obviously about the royalties, and how we shared it on the show. As a content creator, and as for the content creators also viewing this, because I know a lot of them look up to you, what advice would you have to, this can guess kind of be like a compact question, for constructing a solid Web3 newsletter? I see a lot more people trying to start their own newsletters.
Yeah.
And
Yes, they are.
yeah, so like that. And I guess I'll go ahead and do a follow-up question to that. Also, just building a Web3, a genuine Web3 Twitter following, because it almost goes hand in hand. If you have a good newsletter, then I'm sure more people will follow you. And then if you have a lot of people following you, that's more advertisement for your newsletter. So what advice would you have for that?
Yeah, a couple of pieces. One is to just start, and like writing is a skill, and tweeting is a skill, creating a newsletter is a skill. And I think a lot of people get too caught up in trying to have like the perfect newsletter to launch with. And issue 1 has to be absolutely perfect. And issue 2 has to be even better. And then it can really, like, you can spend 6 months with building up, and then you launch, and issue 1 is, in all honesty, still probably not going to be great. Like if I go back and look at my first newsletters, or my earlier tweet threads, they're not great. They're decent,
No,
maybe.
I remember those.
Yeah.
No, they were pretty good, Zeneca.
Yeah, they're a
because
bit
you,
hit and
you
miss,
you were the
but-
first one to do the like daily floor price change.
Yeah,
The
that was
stats.
really well.
You cut. Yeah. That's how I remember when you started that a while back. You
I think it was
don't
June.
June last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember reading those stats every day. That kind of blew you up a little, in my opinion. It kind of blew you up a little bit. Then you don't do the stats, and not everybody else is doing the stats every day. But I'm sorry to cut you off, man. You're still going?
Yeah. No, you're right about everyone doing the stats. And that sort of brings back to when it comes to, if you are going to launch a newsletter and trying to grow a Twitter following, ideally do something unique, or something that no one else is doing, or very few people are doing, or that no one is doing well. And approach it from the perspective of how can you add value to people's lives. Like, the only reason someone's going to read your newsletter and then read it again and share it with their friends is if they find it valuable. And it's usually if there's some insight or some information that they find valuable and that they couldn't have found elsewhere. Or, and this is an easier way, is if you can save people time. And I think that time is our most valuable resource. Attention is our most precious thing in the space. You don't have to necessarily come up with brilliant ideas week after week in every single letter. If you can curate, resources together and be like we have at Zen Academy, we have Zen Caps. It's a weekly newsletter recapping of the events of the week. Yes, there's a lot of custom or like there's like a thought piece section, but there's like 30 links in there, and it's just like, these are the top things that happened this week, and it's just like, that is a newsletter that saves people time. So many people will read it who, especially in this bear market, they're gone back to their normal lives, they've gone back to their jobs, their families, and they checked out a bit, but they still want to check in on the space. So they read the newsletter to save them time. And I think that if you can find something that adds value and or ideally both saves people time, then you've got a winning formula. And then it's about just getting started and just writing, and then being like doing it on a consistent basis is probably ideal. Like every Monday, every Friday, once it like single, same time, same week, so people get used to expecting it, and then getting it out there. And then I guess to answer the second part of your question, which is Twitter following, it's kind of the same concepts. It's just, consistency, adding value, and putting something out there that saves people time, and just doing it over and over and over and over again. And one other thing I'll say is that a lot of people just tweet and think that people will find the content, and they'll it'll organically grow, and that's not quite how organic growth works. I think tweeting is great and putting great content out, but going to find who are all the other people in the space that have large followings, and then go comment on their tweets and add something insightful to them. Because like, you can put the best content out, but if you have 1,000 Twitter followers or 100, the algorithm's going to show it to like 12 people, and then it's going to disappear in 24 hours. But if you go to find someone who has 100,000 followers, 1 million followers, and they tweet something, and then you go comment something insightful, all of a sudden you've got thousands, tens of thousands of people seeing your content, and then they click through to your profile. Oh, this person has a newsletter, and then that's just
that's alpha right there.
That is alpha. Market. I kind of had to do that with my YouTube channel like a year and a half ago. Like, I'm only at like 5.6K, but I was that guy that kind of had to like insert a video to a thread or something like that, almost like promote myself, and it almost was a little awkward, like, you know,
Yeah.
promoting yourself in that way. But it's probably a little bit easier, I guess, or more organic to do it from like an insightful tweet opposed to like an entire video.
Yes.
I could see that being more beneficial. And as far as the consistency goes, I really like that too. I already try to make like NFT weekly recaps like on Fridays. I guess putting that in like newsletter format or in some kind of like written format would probably be a good idea for me personally. And for, you know, again, for those watching too, this is very insightful. I know a lot of people really want to create in this space, but they almost don't know where to get started. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and one point on that as well is repurposing content is so valuable, and so you've got this weekly recap video. You know, turning that into a newsletter is relatively easy compared to just starting out with a whole brand new newsletter idea. And different people consume content in different ways. Some people, I learned this the hard way because I like writing. Writing is my like preferred medium, but and long form writing as well. My newsletter, they're very long. And most people, like 80% of people, they're just not going to read a very long newsletter. Like we live in the TikTok generation. People want, well, a lot of people would just want a 5-minute YouTube video, 10 minutes. Some people, even that's too much. They want a YouTube short. They want a 15-second bang. And, but there still are the people that like reading. And so it's about, and there's some people who listen to podcasts and some people don't. And it's about getting as much content as you can into like as many mediums as possible. And I'm not saying start out like that because then you end up spreading yourself too thin. But relatively early on, I think like start with one and then you can branch out to another and see how that goes and go to another. And yeah.
How many platforms are? Last question on this. Sorry, Ken.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, take your time.
How many platforms do you think you're on, like total, like as far as putting your content out?
Yeah. Okay. So I've got my Twitter. I've got my newsletter, which is on Substack. We've got a YouTube channel now that we started at the start of this year. I've got 2 podcasts. I'll just count them as one platform. Podcasting. We recently started Instagram and started posting stuff there, but more from the Zen Academy side. We're going to be posting on TikTok soon. And it's literally just the same YouTube shorts, well, mostly from YouTube, going to put them onto Instagram and TikTok. I just last week started a new newsletter on Twitter. So Twitter has this get review newsletter option where it embeds it natively into your Twitter profile. So just under your profile, it says, hey, there's a newsletter, subscribe here, which for someone who has a lot of followers is just a great way to get organic people reading a newsletter versus my Substack newsletter. I would always have to like tweet about it and direct people there. And it's harder for it to be organically found. So maybe like 6 is the answer.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I started repurposing shorts into TikToks and Instagram. And Instagram actually originally demonetized my account, which is weird because they just added the digital collectibles tab, which is, you know, they're integrating with NFTs. So I was like, why would they not like Web3 content if they're literally trying to integrate? But they since then fixed it and remonetized me. But it was the weirdest thing. I didn't know if like other Web3 creators also, because I know another guy who just made an NFT video who also got demonetized the same day I did. So I was like, that's the weirdest thing, but I don't know if it was a bug or what, but they fixed that.
Yeah. Someone probably made a mistake. Like they're very clearly moving into Web3 and NFTs and adopting it on their platform. Yeah.
I want to go on a brief tangent real quick. Do you believe in astrology? I do
not.
You don't? I'm asking that because I don't either, but now that something is in retrograde right now, I don't know which one of those, Mercury maybe, but when something like that happened, I have the surge of being extremely productive for some weird reason. Like the same way you just listed a whole bunch of things, how you squeeze everything out of the day. That's kind of how I'm kind of in that same mindset right now, when that's not the normal mindset. Is your poker days where I watch TV, check YouTube, chill a little bit, you know, just kill time. Like I don't know where all my time went. I didn't do anything. So now, for some weird reason, that something is retrograding, I have a to-do list. I'm checking everything out. I'm neat and tidy now. Like, so you don't believe that has anything to do with a surge of productivity?
No, not personally. No, I mean there might be some other thing. I mean, I'm sure that there's some reason that you're feeling more productive, and but it might be that you read my content or that you read something else or you saw something else and you're like getting inspired by other people, and it just happens to be at the same time that Mercury's in retrograde or whatever.
Okay, so you don't believe none of that hogwash. I don't either. It's
No.
just weird that sometimes I could be extremely productive, then all of a sudden I'm watching TV again and just going back to being lazy. Like
Yeah.
I,
No, I mean, like, I have an extremely open mind. So I don't like to dismiss things necessarily as hogwash. I do believe in like science and facts and things that are proven via the scientific method. And I don't believe astrology has been, but I think that there's definitely, obviously, a massive industry and it has helped people. It has potentially hurt people too, but like every industry has. But I think that there's some mentality shift where if you believe in it and think that, oh, because of this, it's a time to be productive, then you will be more productive. And it's like this placebo effect thing. So I'm not saying that there is no effect there, but I don't believe that it's caused by the stars or the planets. It might be caused by the people that interpreting the stars and the planets.
Yeah, makes sense.
yes, yeah, it does. Because I don't believe in it. I get that sudden surge of productivity that I want to last forever, but and just a lot of times it don't. It doesn't stick
Mm.
forever, which I just got to figure out how to keep it, keep going even past whatever is retrograding. I'm just blaming retrogrades because it's like it came out of nowhere, really. Like
Yeah.
I don't. I saw your post, your tweet about productivity like way after. I've been productive
Mm.
for almost a month now for some strange reason. Like I have no clue. It's like it just goes against what I've
Well, that's
been
great.
doing, but
You've been
I
touching
know.
grass.
I have. I have. I've been going for walks. I started exercising again, man. You
Well,
have
there
no
you go.
clue how
Yeah,
this
all those things
NFT
are real,
space really
man.
screwed me.
Getting some sun really helps. Not DJing, trading late hours, waking up
Hmm.
early. All that
Yeah.
stuff adds up, man.
Yeah, that's I just started doing well, maybe it's because of the I started losing too much money. So I just stopped looking at the screen and going outside now. But sorry to go on that tangent. Let's get back to trading. So what is your trading strategy? How do you like evaluate a new project before you whether it's invest or whether you go in as an advisor? Like what do you look at to see if this is gonna be good, it's gonna be successful sometime in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put the advisory stuff. I'll answer that second. But in terms of like buying into a project, whether it is from an investment perspective or, yeah, so from that perspective, well, for starters, like these days, I'm not doing much trading at all. It's just like A, it's the bear market, and B, I'm just really focused on building Zen Academy, Zen Labs, other things in the space, and doing advising and consulting and other things. But for the most part, I look at the team. To me is still the most important thing. It's like if it's a say it's a 10K project, who is behind it? What experiences they have? What kind of people are they? Do they have the ability to create something meaningful and lasting out of this? Uh, what is their plan? Like, roadmap is overused, I think, but it's like a vision, or like why are they even launching an NFT in the project in the first place? What are they hoping to achieve? And like digging into that question, and if you can understand, oh, they're building something enormous here, or something very specific like a tool, it can help me inform whether I want to be part of it or not. And then the last thing is, well, not the last thing, but another large thing is just how good are they at capturing attention? Because the price of things in this space basically goes up and down based on attention. And and this comes to like marketing. Can they market well? Do they have the just ability to sustain attention, or is this one of those things where it's going to pump once and then just completely die? And if that's the case, sometimes you go for a short term trade and flip and buy and then sell before other people get out. But more and more, I'm trying to like find the projects that are long term holds. And the other piece is art. And I think that one of the beautiful things about investing in art, generative art, one-on-one art, is that you're much less reliant on a team. You're much less reliant on a roadmap or a vision or a community or utility. It's if the art is great, if it's technologically sophisticated, like generative art, if the artist is very prolific or is someone who has created a bunch of great work, is very likely to just generally, in my mind, go up in value as the space continues to explode, with less investment, like less time investment in sort of tracking everything. It's a more appealing place to allocate some of my NFT ETH.
Hmm.
Well said. Do you believe the PFP meta is dying?
Yes and no. I think PFPs will always exist. I think that like digital identities, avatars, like they existed well before NFTs and crypto. Like you go back to I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s, I would have like my avatar on MSN Messenger or AOL Messenger, or and then on online forums, I'd have an avatar, and like people, and then sometimes you have a screen name, and all these digital identities. I think the concept is not going anywhere ever. It's going to be around forever, and because of that, I think PFP projects and NFTs as PFPs, that you own your identity, like that is a huge industry. It's just like we've barely scratched the surface. I think that what's going away is the meta of 10K projects minting out and then just minting out a large sums and then pumping in price. I think that is unsustainable. And in the future, I think the PFPs will probably be free or very cheap for many projects, or they'll be separated where you buy membership to a community and then you get the PFP for free or something like that. Because at the end of the day, the if you have a company and you're trying to build a brand, you want people to have your PFP. The more, the better. The more people using it out on social media, and it acts as like marketing and advertising for you. So imagine if like Disney comes along and they're going to drop a PFP project. They don't need the money. They don't need to charge $500 for a PFP and raise $50 million or however many they end up selling. They could be like, well, anyone that attends one of our theme parks, they get a PFP, bang, and then now all of a sudden it's like value add, and then now people online being showing off their Disney PFPs, and the brand wins. And so I think the meta is shifting, and like we're moving away from this whole 10K PFP drop. I think like we've got a while still left of this. It's just changing a bit, but I don't think PFPs are going anywhere long term.
It's obviously a much smaller example than Disney, but we did look on the show yesterday at Atari 50-year anniversary, and I thought it was pretty cool the way they're doing it. It's only 2,500 editions. It's their Genesis. They're going to give, before they even raising or going into it, they're giving 500,000 back to the community and like posters and like gift cards and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool example.
Now he's bullish on it. When I brought it up yesterday, Zeneca, you should have saw him. I was like, no, I already have Atari. I have all this Atari stuff. This is not special. You said that. Then all of a sudden, by the end of the episode, he got extremely bullish. It was the weirdest thing.
I did get bullish because I read more about it. I saw that the artist, something Butcher, I did art for like Stranger Things.
Butcher Billy?
Billy Butcher. Yeah, Billy Butcher
Billy
for like
Butcher,
Stranger Things and some other Netflix itself and some other big brands. And then the calling the phone number was so innovative, man. Like there was an actual phone number, just like the classic like Yellow Pages. And if you called it, it gave you information about the project. So Ken and I left a voicemail asking them if we bought it, if it would go to the
moon. That's amazing. Yeah, that was a cool project. I actually couldn't I was on a Twitter space with someone from their team a week or two ago, and they emailed me asking if I wanted to be on the allow list for this, and like I missed it till the days before. So I was like, oh, okay. Anyway,
the mint itself was I'm a nerd. The mint itself was 0.1972, which is like the year Atari was founded.
1972.
So I thought that was a little cool too. Nice. Yeah, that was a very unique way to do it. And I think even like they even did one more thing to do that. I think the royalties, back on that, I think they like try to do 1972. I think they did 7.2 for like the royalties as in like the 1972. So
yeah,
or zero depends on the marketplace.
or on Figure Swap.
So you just now you mentioned ownership over your PFP. Now that's also been another hot topic in the space, with IP rights moving forward. Like, how do you envision this? Because it was a big debate when Moonbirds went CCO, and CCO has kind of been holding up the space for a while for the DJs anyways, where they're just DJ players are all CCO, nobody really cares. But when major projects start going CCOs, like, how do you feel about that? Is it more profitable to own your own IP rights, to like license it out? Like, Bored Apes are pretty much the only ones making money off of their licensing right now. But like, what's your take on that, on right ownership?
I think it's really interesting and fascinating, and I think it's constantly evolving. I like all options. I think like CCO is fantastic, but it's just one tool in a toolbox of IP right decision making. And I think that having a project own the IP and direct the brand, it also makes some sense. And then I think something like a hybrid where the company owns the IP but licenses it to the holders so they can get commercial revenue off of it if they want, and everything in between. So I think that it is a hot topic, and I think that the thing is now that there's everything out there. So as a buyer, as a collector of NFTs, as a purchaser, you get to pick and choose and be like, oh, I want these IP rights. I like that. Now the crux is though that because you don't actually own the IP rights, the company can take them away or remove them or add to them or change them, which is what happened with Moonbirds. And it could theoretically happen with any other project except the CC0 ones, because when you buy something CC0, nothing can get taken away. So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I'm thinking a lot about it because we have our PFP project coming up in a few months still.
Really?
It's a while
Oh.
away. So
Does
it's
it
not
have
really.
is it going to be linked to your current one?
Zen Academy?
Yeah, there'll be a connection. It'll be yeah, like Zen Academy holds will get like obviously priority and there'll be a lot of benefits there. And thematically we've got a lot of lore being worked out, and but yeah, like we're probably not going to get it done this year, early next year, but we're taking our time to do it right. And yeah, thinking about the IP rights and what makes the most sense there is it requires a lot of thought.
You're gonna pull a Kevin Hart and just have like a bunch of different poses of you.
No, no, don't do that. Like, do you guys have cool artists on board already, or you guys haven't gotten that far? Just working on the lore right now because you are a writer.
Bit of both. I'm actually not doing the writing because I'm not a creative writer. So I can write nonfiction. I'm not good at fiction writer, but we have someone on our team who is a creative writer. So she's done an excellent job writing that lore and building out the story. As for artists, we have maybe I shouldn't say like we haven't locked in a single artist yet, but we are working with several to figure out our exact artistic vision.
So I know you're not allowed to tell us, but does current holders of Zen Academy, do they get a little something when that drops?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I can say that for sure. I don't know the specifics, and I haven't shared the specifics, but we haven't even internally figured out exactly what that will look like. But the whole point of NFTs is to be able to reward your early supporters, and that's just an ethos that every project I think should have, and we definitely have. So anything we do PFP related, it'll be like if you have a Zen Academy NFT, your front row seat and priority. Yeah.
I like that, man.
Yeah, that kind of moves into another hot topic of this space, which is VC funding. Now, a lot of VCs you're pretty much a VC now as well, but a lot of VCs are pretty much coming in and funding all these projects. And it's some of them are turning the collectors into consumers. Now, you just mentioned you want to reward the holders of Zen Academy, but I find that when some projects, not all of them, when some raise money, that really doesn't help the collectors at all. Like, what's stopping the VCs from just buying the floor up and investing that way? But of course, that doesn't really help the team as much as just giving them millions. So, what is your thought on that? Is there any way to reward holders and still get VC funding, or is one kind of killing the other?
Yeah, it is a hot topic as well. I think not all VCs are created equal. So I think a lot of people think, oh, VCs are evil or VCs are good and it's good for the project. And I think that it varies project to project and VC to VC. I think that a good arrangement does benefit the holders. So like if a company, let's use Doodles as the example, they raised 54 million at a 704 million valuation. And some of the community holders and especially the wider community were unhappy about that because they said, well, how does this help us as holders? We are the customer. If the companies, if the VCs want to make money, how are they going to do that? They're going to sell us more NFTs. They raise so much capital from us already. Why are they taking more money on? And those are valid points. And I see that. And I think it's But if you look at your NFT's value increasing, if the value of the brand increases, if the awareness of it, if they do more things and cool things, then taking on VC funding allows them to hire more people, better people, to build cool stuff, to move more quickly, to and the other side of VC funding is the connections as well. Like a lot of people take on VC funding not just for the money, obviously in most cases that's a huge part of it, but also just for the connections that you can get from to media outlets or to big names in the space, and then to help promote the brand, or to advisors and consultants from people who have helped scale these companies. So yeah, it is an interesting piece, especially because I think a lot of people buy the NFTs thinking that they have ownership of the company, whereas you have ownership of the NFT, which is issued by the company, and that like is a mentality shift a little bit that maybe a lot of people didn't quite recognize, especially last year. I think when people were just buying stuff, thinking I got an ownership in the company, which you can't do for like securities laws reasons and a bunch of other stuff. I personally am. I don't want to take on VC funding for anything that I'm building, and again, it's not that VCs are evil, but it does begin to misalign incentives, and profit is then front and center, or front and near center. It's a VCs will invest in something hoping at some point in the future to get a return on that investment, usually a significant return, and they will need to find a way to extract that profit from the company and in many ways from the community and the ecosystem. Whereas I don't want profit to be front and center for the company that I'm building. I want people to be front and center, and we obviously want to generate profit as well. But that's just, it's a secondary consideration, or a third consideration. It's not the primary driver. And by not taking on VC funding, it allows me to make decisions for the company that are much more long-term minded. Like VCs might think in quarters or years or 4-year vesting schedules and things like that. Whereas I might be doing things now that I think will pay off in 10 years or 20 years, and have a much longer payoff, and do things where it's not like extracting the maximum amount of value right now, but I'm okay with that because it's work-life balance. And it's just, I don't personally want to give up that, well, any real significant control. I have a vision and something that I want to build, and I want to do it. And obviously then you come into question, well, how are you going to raise capital? How are you going to generate revenue for the business? And the one significant way is to sell NFTs and to get some money from secondary market royalties. But the goal and the plan is for that to be a relatively small part of the entire thing, and on to find other ways to generate revenue for the business, so that going forward, you no longer have to sell things to your community. You can give things to your community and you can reward them, and they can support you not by buying your NFTs, but by telling people about the company, about the brand. And if you're doing good things, then it's really symbiotic and win-win-win.
What do you think that looks like to raise funds from other avenues? Like, do you have any particular examples of visions either you have or that you see done that you think is a good example?
Yeah, so I sat down like a couple of weeks ago and wrote down this big org chart, and we've got like, again, decades planned out. But the next couple of years, for us, we're focusing on two big things. One is consulting revenue, and that is something that I think is a very clear and easy way to generate relatively risk-free revenue for the business. I do a lot of consulting with Web2 brands, with Web3 companies, one-on-one. And I'm turning people, like I get 5 to 10 people projects requesting a week for me to be an advisor. 90% of the time, I just can't take on that kind of volume, turning them away. But instead, and I have a lot of other people I know on the team in the community who are experts and who I can also work with or train, or we can work together. They can be consultants under Zen Labs, our parent company, and then we can help them with finding clients, legal, admin, that kind of stuff, and take a 20-30% cut like most consulting firms do. Generates revenue from a big Web2 brand looking to enter the space. All of a sudden, it's a win-win situation. We can use that money to payroll the team to do things for the community. So that's something we're focusing on, and in the next few months, I think we'll be releasing a more established plan. I'm the guinea pig right now. We're figuring out how it works for me to be an advisor under Zen Labs. And the other part that we're focusing a lot on is media and content, and I think that is another clear way to generate revenue via the options are infinite there. If you have large audiences and followings, yes, people pay one way or another. Like if you're going to generate revenue, the money has to come from somewhere. But things like affiliate marketing, I think, are relatively ethical, especially if you choose affiliates that you align with and you help them get business. But you're not like pushing them on your community, but it's like something that you believe in. And I don't know what those products or services might be. There's sponsorships, there's advertising, and again, there's an ethical way to do it, and there's a non-ethical way to do it. And it's one additional way to bring in revenue. That there's selling books, there's selling guides, there's selling courses, there's content. There's a lot of money in content, and I think that we're in a really unique position to make that a revenue positive way. And then again, we can give value back to our holders. Free access to stuff, free books, discounts on consulting services, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe we do affiliate deals, but if you have one of our NFTs, you get a greater discount than anyone else. And if we have a large enough audience, we can use that leverage to reward our community. So those are the two big things, and in conjunction with the PFE stuff that we're working on. And then future stuff is like events, like in real life events, online events, workshops. I think that there's a lot to do there. And I have a couple other plans as well.
Awesome, man. Those are really good. I just got back from a financial content creators conference in Orlando, Florida, and it was really big on hammering in affiliates. And I was like, as a smaller content creator for like 2 years, I was like, what have I been doing? Because there's so much ethical affiliates, man. Like during my session, I went and signed up for Ledger affiliate, which is open to everyone, and it's 10% of obviously with your following you could get a lot bigger than that, but it's 10% of every sale that comes through your affiliate you get in Bitcoin from Ledger. I was like, what have I been doing? Like I have like a decent amount of traction and I believe in Ledger as a product. Why have I not been promoting? Why have I not been putting this? But like, especially with your following and using ethical affiliates, like I think that's a great source of revenue. And as far as a consulting thing, I think that's also awesome. I'm part of Pirates of the Metaverse with Crypto Pappy. He was
Chris.
He was involved with. Do you know who I'm talking about? Crypto Pappy. He's also a content creator. But they have Drip Studios, which is also a consulting studios that helps back up their project as well. And I like that. It's a much smaller project, but I like that going in, knowing that they had that funding, not just relying on like the primary sale and the primary and the secondary royalties. So I thought that was kind of a cool way to do it as well. So that's awesome, man. Makes sense.
Yeah, Chris always pumping his bags on this show, man.
I own one pirate. That I have no intention to sell.
Okay, sure. Let me not catch you on Ninja Alerts pinging that you finally sold that after you pumped it over here. So
I need to go tweet about this real quick.
All right. So you did speak about consulting. Now, as an advisor, let's say, what would be a free advice you could give to like a project like Cool Cats? Are they dead or could they come back?
No, I definitely don't think they're dead. I think they just announced a new CEO today, which is hopefully going to give them some better direction. Cool Cats is a unique case because there's very few projects that had the level of success and awareness. Like they were very clearly the number 3 NFT project for a while. It was like Punks, Apes, Cool Cats. And then it slowly began to drift and fade away, I think. They just need a refocus on who they are and what they are. Like I don't even know. I'm a holder, and I think so many people are confused. Are they creating games? Are they a gaming company? Are they creating family-friendly cartoons? And are they doing physical merch? They can do all of these things, but they're a bit all over the place. And they have a really killer family-friendly brand, but and a pretty great community that obviously now there's been a lot of loss in confidence over the last year, but I think that they built up enough goodwill in the 6 months last year before trying to launch their game, that with a good strong push and refocus of their mission and streamlining the process, I think they could capture that attention. And I would really just plan a marketing event and build up to that. Like most projects, that their biggest the most attention they'll ever have is mint day, and then it's difficult to get that back. And our Cool Cats is an exception because they blew up so much, and then they had a couple other ones other than that. But now it's very hard to capture attention again, and there's so many projects to compete with. And so you really have to like very intentionally be like, all right, almost treat it like another mint day, but instead of minting, you're announcing, or you're revealing something, and have something of substance to reveal. Try and get the goodwill back from the community. Tell them, how they're going to benefit from it, and hope that is enough. Yeah.
Dude, for me, I kind of lost my trust with that game.
Mm.
Yeah, like months, like maybe almost 2 months delay. Just kept delaying. When I had the egg, a pet, but then I had to let that go, bro, because it was like I was very bullish on them,
I
but
was
then the
too.
delays just pretty much killed me on there, and they haven't really fully recovered yet. So they might, like you said, they might not be dead yet. They just gotta refocus. But yeah, I just had to talk about that real quick because again, that is, I mean, Cool Cats is a product of the Web3 space. Like it's kind of like all our babies in a sense. So if they succeed, that will help us a lot. But I've noticed that a lot of the space, the WAGMI, like I said before, is kind of dead. It's turned into a zero sum. I've noticed that there's a coordinated effort, like a coordinated winch hunt on a project every week. Last week it was the goblins. Out of nowhere, there was a coordinated effort just to. I don't know if you've noticed it on your timeline, but they were just
I
trying to
saw
put goblins
something.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the week before that might have been moonbirds or another collection. Like, how do we move back to the we're all eating, we're all gonna make it again, like we all gather around to support, like let's say the Cool Cats or any product of the Web3 space? Like, are we ever gonna get back to that, or is that done?
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely get back to it in the next bull run. Everyone is everyone is happy in a bull run, and then bear market, everyone's bags are down 90%, and they're just frustrated and lashing out. And I think it's a mentality thing, and it's a human thing, and it's it's about encouraging people to lift each other up, and we genuinely do all win if we all win and we lift each other up. It's a rising tide situation, and yeah, but honestly, I think it's a bear market. People are bored. People are sad. They're angry. They've lost a bunch of money. They're lashing out, and it's they probably just need to take some time to reflect, go to therapy. If you're getting
Therapy,
really
yes.
angry and worked up on Twitter, that's not healthy, and you should probably
No.
get some help or take a break. Just take a week off Twitter, take a month off, come back. It's probably going to be bear market still. So, yeah.
Sorry to just move real quick. Now the merge just happened. What are your thoughts on
Mm.
that, on the Ethereum merge?
Amazing, extraordinarily bullish long term. I think it's fantastic. It's the thing that they pulled off, like the technological engineering feat is mind blowing when you think about it. And it went smoothly. It makes me extraordinarily bullish for all the rest of the stuff that the Ethereum devs and the foundation devs have planned, and for like sharding and scaling and making transactions faster and cheaper, and all that kind of stuff seems it's going to be great. The energy consumption reduction is incredibly important, and I think that
Yes.
as that begins to a just for our planet, but b for the narrative that has been told throughout media over since the start of Ethereum and proof of work blockchains, I think it'll hopefully, once more people know about it and understand it, the narrative will shift and people will be like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable. Like a lot of artists have just not wanted to launch NFTs or launch them on Ethereum because of the environmental impact, but now it's very minimal, like very, very minimal. So I think, yeah, extraordinarily bullish on the merge.
I was telling Ken when I was at that conference that this lady and I started talking. She does, I think, like home finance or some type of financial content. And her kid came up to me, or she asked me what I did, and I told her. And her kid was like under 10 years old, and I started telling her about NFTs, and her kid was like, "Aren't those bad for the environment?" And it was like, it was like an 8-year-old asked me that, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like how do you even begin to explain? Like,
Yeah. Well, they were, but then we emerged from
Yes.
proof of work to proof of stake.
How do you see this working with the layer twos though? That they were scalable, they were faster, they were better, quote unquote, for the environment. Like, how do you see them now that the layer one is has upgraded?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely still need layer twos because one of the reasons was the environment, but the other is just the speed and the cost of the transactions. And Ethereum is still, even when gas is low, it's like you spend a few dollars in gas, and that's prohibitive to most people. And so we're going to need layer twos, and that's like where we are right now. Like we don't have a billion people using Ethereum yet, and so if/when that happens, even with the improvements to Ethereum, like sharding is going to make Ethereum at mainnet, I think, up to 100,000 times faster and cheaper. But when you have a billion people using it, then it's going to get expensive again, and you just need layer twos and places that people can transact more quickly and more cheaply. And yeah, I'm very bullish on layer twos.
Which one's your most? I was gonna ask. Sorry, Chris. Which one
Okay, go ahead.
are you bullish the most on? Polygon or IMX or
Um,
Optimism?
I'm not an expert. I think Polygon isn't actually a layer two. It's like a side chain, which is slightly different. Um, I I would say like the ones that I would say Optimism and Arbitrum are the two that,
Arbitrum.
but I'm in my very uneducated opinion, are the ones that I'm bullish on.
Yeah,
Kind
we
of in
just
the
got some
same,
good Arbitrum news last night or
yeah, with
yesterday with
OpenSea.
Oh,
OpenSea.
OpenSea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Go
Kind of
ahead,
in the
Chris.
same vein of this conversation, what do you think needs to happen for NFTs to go more mainstream? We are just talking about a billion users being on Ethereum.
Yeah.
What needs to
Two
happen for a
things.
billion users to be on Ethereum?
Two things, and it's going to take time. One is education and just the level of knowledge and understanding of how permissionless networks and blockchains and all that kind of stuff works. This is going to take years and years and years, because for forever we've grown up in a situation, or like for a very long time, where there's a forgot password button, or if you lose your credit card, you call your bank and they freeze your account, and then you have insurance and you get money back. And it's a very different situation when you have full custody of your assets, and that's just going
Yeah.
to take time to understand that. The other thing is infrastructure improvements, and this is also going to take time, but it's just too complicated right now. Like the UI UX is clunky, it's difficult, it's scary. You make a mistake, you lose some money. It was built by engineers and tech heads. It wasn't built by designers. And I think that as time goes on, we will see significant infrastructure improvements and make it easier for someone to interact with the blockchain without even knowing that they're interacting with the blockchain. I always say that we won't go mainstream until uh, the ability to use it is similar to like I have my grandma's 98 and I have like a 9-year-old niece, and they can both pull out an iPad and go to the App Store, download a game, be playing a game, and they're using cloud computing, they're using mobile technology, they're using touch screens, the internet protocol, all this stuff. They have no idea about any of it. And I think once we get to that level with NFTs and blockchain, where the technology is abstracted away and people are just, it's in the background. But we will need a lot more education as well. Like you can abstract it away, but the fundamental thesis will still exist, where you have to take ownership of your own assets. But there'll be safety nets people will build as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Well,
That's what Starbucks actually talked about in the article when going on Polygon. Pretty much exactly what you said, as far as they want to make it like a loyalty program that people don't even really know that they're using the
Yeah.
blockchain or interacting with NFTs while they use it. So, and that's kind of in the midterm, like I wouldn't, consider that long term. I think they're going to start on it before the end of the year. So it's kind of cool to
great.
see some large Web2 companies kind of understanding that concept, that somebody like yourself, has been pushing out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, speaking about education, tell us a little bit more about Zen Academy.
Oh, right. Yeah. So these are the two NFTs that I created last year in November. Basically, I didn't want to do a PFP project then. Market had too many. And so these are just ERC 1155. So they're all the same. There's 333 of the 333 Club, which give you access to a small private community where I have office hours so people can book consulting half an hour slots in my calendar, and I'll help them with their projects, as well as just a more tight knit community. Zen Academy
Like every
Genesis gets
week? Sorry to
one a
like
month per person.
one a month. Okay.
Yeah, which it works. Like there's 333 members, but a lot of them don't avail themselves of that because they don't have a project or they're busy with other things. But I make it available, and I love those sessions. It's for me like 4 hours, 6 hours a week is the amount of time I dedicate to those. And then Zen Academy Genesis gets you access to Zen Academy, which is the a large, like much larger Discord server, and basically your entry into the ecosystem. Everything that will be built from here on out, and like the consulting, the media, everything Zen Academy Genesis holders will have like front row seat to that, and so there'll be a lot of other benefits. But to begin with, it's access to the Discord, giveaways, discounts, and a couple other things. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I gotta scoop one of these, man. Look pretty. So how many Genesis are there?
There are 7,848. It was an
7,000.
open edition,
Okay.
so it just for 2 weeks,
okay.
0.033 was the mint price, and people could mint however many they wanted, and that's how many got minted.
Damn, I missed that. Yeah. I missed that. God damn. And that came out what, like last year, right?
November last year, yeah.
Oh man. Open edition. I would have minted a lot. But yeah, thank you for joining us today, man. Really appreciate this. Make sure we have a lot of technical difficulties today out of every day. It's the weirdest thing, man. It's the weirdest thing. But this is going to be pre-recorded. Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm going to start believing all that crap now, bro. Yeah. So
this has been amazing.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Make sure to go who is going to be watching this in the future. Usually we have a chat with people here, but it's not going to be live today for some Mercury reasons. Make sure to go buy some of these Zen Academy Genesis. I'm going to go scoop one up, of course. Round of applause for you, Zen.
Thank you so much.
Zeneca, really appreciated it.
Cheers.
Thank you. Come through anytime. We'd love to talk to you about the PFP project that's coming up soon. Early next year or mid next year. That's really, really interesting. I'd love to see it because this heading, the image looked very, very good for the heading right here. That's pretty damn cool. Like, who's the artist?
Yeah, we had a
behind
wonderful artist. His name is Pondering. He's from Thailand. He created that about a year ago. I'm gonna have to jump off because I have another meeting that I'm late to now. So
thank you so much, Zeneca.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
All right.
Air hole for Zeneca.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Peace.